You know, just this morning, having the opportunity of spending time with so many of you and getting to talk and to chat, truly incredible experience for me to connect with all of you. Because all of you gathered at this conference, whether in person or participating by webcast from around the world, have such a deep commitment to the spiritual care of the sick, their families, and their healthcare providers. My experience at Healthcare Chaplaincy Network has fostered a sincere respect and appreciation for all that you do, but most importantly, for all that I have found that you are. Today, I'd like to share with you a vision for the future of spiritual care and for chaplaincy. There is always a story behind every significant moment, whether in the life of a person or in the life of an organization. Nothing just happens for the sake of itself. The journey prepares the path so that the opportunity can be captured. If you were to look at my background, you would see a resume filled with experiences with the poor and the homeless, the sick and the dying, care recipients and caregivers. Most meaningfully, I had the privilege of founding and leading the Alzheimer's Foundation of America. At AFA, there was a real opportunity to make a difference, to change the way things were. What followed was an extensive range of care-related programs, services, and initiatives to improve quality of life as we waited for a cure for Alzheimer's disease. We gathered first dozens, then hundreds, and then thousands of organizations across the nation to speak with one voice for the needs of people living with Alzheimer's disease and related illnesses and their families. This collective voice led to advocacy that got things done. AFA made a difference and actually continues to do so today by addressing the gaps and doing what no one else feels compelled to do. At the heart of my passion to care for people is a life of religious ministry, first marked as my entering the Capuchin Franciscan friars and studying for ordination as a Roman Catholic priest, and then being welcomed by the Presbyterian Church, becoming the teaching elder or pastor of Eastchester Presbyterian Church in Eastchester, New York. I have served there these past 15 years. I cannot adequately express how deeply I have experienced my life as being guided by a divine hand. Coming to Healthcare Chaplaincy Network 3 years ago seems now a natural progression. At the interview process for the CEO position began at HCCN, questions rang in my head. What would be the opportunities, the lives that could be touched at HCCN? How does CCN make a difference? Maybe more importantly, how could I make a difference? What is the status of spiritual care nationally? And what are those areas, the gaps that are most necessary and compelling to address? You see, I never had a doubt that I understood the profession of chaplaincy, the power, the passion behind each encounter with a patient, a family, a coworker. You see, as a friar, I spent many nights at Montefiore Hospital in the Bronx, New York. You see, the staff at Montefiore knew that the friars were always available. At the Montefiore Einstein Center for Cancer Care, I frequently covered for the chaplain who was on vacation. Yes, I had experience providing spiritual care as a clergy member, but chaplaincy is much more personal to me. I've only told this story once before, and you will understand in a moment why it is so difficult for me. My father was 62, and he had to have his aorta replaced at St. Michael's Medical Center in Newark, New Jersey. Unknowingly, he was infused with blood that was tainted with hepatitis. In a matter of days, in spite of a very successful procedure, my father went into cardiac arrest. No one knew why at the time. He was not feeling well a few days before, but it was dismissed due to the trauma his body had undergone through the open heart surgery. My mother and I sat in the hallway as doctors came in and out of that room. More carts, more doctors than I ever thought could fit in one room. Joseph approached us. He had a very kind face, and I honestly don't remember him saying much. He was just there. He positioned himself between my mother and I, and he held our hands. The doctors came out with the final news of my father's death, and Joseph held us as we emotionally erupted. He walked us to the car, and we began what was the most horrendous ride of our lives home without my father. See, Joseph was the chaplain at St. Michael's. To me, he represents all of the compassion, the warmth, the skill you put into the provision of spiritual care each and every day. When I reflect on that experience, I cannot even imagine what it would have been like without Joseph. HCCN has a mission very dear to my heart. Meeting the board members of HCCN during the interviewing process affirmed for me that HCCN was the right fit. Chaplains need resources. They deserve to be fought for, and patients, families, and other healthcare professionals require and authentically need their care. HCCN's board was committed, engaged, and desirous to keep HCCN moving forward. Most of all, they wanted to be sure that whatever we do translates into the actual manifestation of spiritual care for patients and their families. You see, it was all very much about caring for people. As many of you are aware, HCCN has been a not-for-profit organization in the spiritual care and chaplaincy space since 1961. Throughout our history, we have been committed to excellence in spiritual care through our direct clinical care, our clinical pastoral education and continuing education programs, as well as our research and our consensus statements. We have been an ongoing financial and resource provider to the field all of these years. So clearly, HCCN has become a part of the fabric of spiritual care in America. My arrival as HCCN's president and chief executive officer in 2013 brought me face to face with many of you, many in the field, giving me the opportunity to listen to your concerns, your challenges, your aspirations for the future. The HCCN staff educated me on our history. Thought leaders, chaplains, other healthcare professionals challenged me to better integrate spiritual care into healthcare, to address the gaps, and to look and vision for the future. Everyone I talked to and everything I read described caring for the human spirit as a meaningful and necessary component of healthcare. However, the opinion of many was that the field has become stagnant. It lacked clarity. Education and certification of chaplains needed a fresh approach, and the full integration of spiritual care into healthcare was lacking. Everyone spoke of the heart of the field, the chaplains, as dedicated but stretched, hardworking and yet struggling to find their place, take their place at the table with other healthcare professionals in their institutions. Everything I have read over the last 2 years has been very compelling and equally concerning. To quote a few experts in the field. Regarding spiritual care in general, a white paper published late last year by the Beryl Institute noted, spirituality in healthcare and the positive impacts it can have cannot be left to chance. They can and should be supported by a chaplain who helps people identify and draw upon their sources of spiritual strength regardless of religion or beliefs. Chaplains, specifically board-certified chaplains who are trained to understand and most effectively operate in the healthcare environment, should be included as the spiritual care specialists on the healthcare team, much like doctors and nurses represent the experts present on caring for the body. Even with the increasing awareness A lack of consistency exists in how spiritual care programs are operated or implemented in healthcare organizations today. We have an opportunity to align on both purpose and role and expand and reinforce the dialogue of the outcomes a focus on spiritual care can drive. In the area of education, renowned sociologist Professor Wendy Cage, in a 2012 address to the Association of Professional Chaplains, APC, said, "I don't think tweaking or revising the standards will work this time. And I want to encourage you to think about how you would design an educational program for chaplains if you were doing so from scratch. I'll be surprised if you came up with the model that you have now." Further, in her 2012 book, Wendy Cage presents this challenge. While chaplaincy leaders and educators in each of these areas could work together to image new, more interdisciplinary and more integrated training models, change is not likely to be easy. Change is important, however, if chaplains are to become more than tinkering tradespersons fulfilling needs seen as peripheral to their organization's main missions. And again, regarding education, in a 2015 article in the Journal of Healthcare Chaplaincy, George Frechette, Alexander Tartaglia, Kevin Massey, Beth Jackson Jordan, and Paul Derrickson raised this point. A question for the chaplaincy profession is whether designing CPE residency curricula around the certification competencies is actually an effective way to educate people for professional chaplaincy, or whether it is time for a fresh look at education for professional chaplaincy. In discussing licensure, the same article noted, "The merit in investigating licensure for chaplaincy is that standards of professional competency, propositional knowledge, and the objective outcome-oriented clinical practice could be identified and tested through methods currently employed by other professional licensures, and the question of who may train chaplains and how they may train chaplains becomes tangential." Even my predecessor, who spent 22 years at HCCN, Reverend Walter Smith, has said, "The current system in professional chaplaincy is not sustainable, and we must develop and embrace a different mode. Without an empirical base that validates the outcomes of the professional work, chaplaincy as a profession will remain on the margins of healthcare and not be able to justify further investment of limited healthcare dollars to support its professional endeavors." And regarding the pressing need for some form of advocacy, Father Smith has says, "Despite many good efforts, chaplaincy still lacks an organized, strong, united, proactive, and representative national voice. Chaplaincy as a field is not a significant professional participant in the national healthcare policy debate, nor does it have an appropriate or sustained lobbying presence with those who are playing key roles in shaping the future of American healthcare. Chaplains have to be at the table and speak persuasively if their contributions are to be understood and included as the healthcare landscape is being re-engineered." And there was much more. The need for a structured path for research in the field of spiritual care, the need for reimbursement for chaplaincy, the need to closely define the landscape of spiritual care and chaplaincy, the need to objectively demonstrate clinical outcomes and competencies, the need to foster the profession, the vocation of chaplaincy, and most of all, the need to make it a profession that is strong, dignified, and respected. You see from this how easy it is to conclude that meeting any or all of these needs would require significant work. Most importantly, they would require a more proactive and a much more aggressive approach than is currently being utilized. Informed, truly motivated by these voices, over the past year, Healthcare Chaplaincy Network, under my direction, has taken the initiative to begin to address these demands. With the Burrell Institute, a global leader in improving patient experience, we suggested and collaborated on a new white paper entitled "The Critical Role of Spirituality in Patient Experience." This paper identifies key practices for integrating spiritual care into healthcare and the impact professional healthcare chaplains have on excellent patient experience. It includes insights from 8 leaders in the field, including some who are actually here with us these couple of days. HCCN has also taken the first steps to meet the demands for advocacy. We have petitioned and communicated with members of the United States Congress about why and how professional healthcare chaplains cost-effectively improve patient and family experience and satisfaction with their healthcare. At the state level, in January, we actually went and we met with the Associate Director for Policy for the State of California Department of Healthcare Services about California Senate Bill 1004. That bill will mandate community-based palliative care services to the recipients of Medi-Cal, which is California's Medicaid healthcare program. The government official asked us to provide input on 2 key parts: intake screening for spiritual issues and qualifications for spiritual care providers. We submitted our recommendations soon after the meeting. Why is this so important? Because California is ahead of the states in recognizing the importance of community-based palliative care. With the incorporation of effective spiritual care in the delivery of palliative care in California, it is likely then that other states will follow California's lead. Quite frankly, if HCCN had not stepped in, delivery of spiritual care within palliative care was almost certain to have been swept aside. Our advocacy, though, over the last 6 months has embraced more than simply a legislative agenda. We've begun outreach to reporters in major media and in the healthcare sector. The response has been enthusiastic and exciting. It turns out there is a significant hunger for information on developments in spiritual care. Thanks to our efforts, numerous articles have been published in prominent publications, including the Wall Street Journal, the Los Angeles Times, Reuters, McKnight's Long-Term Care News, KevinMD.com, and the American Journal of Nursing, just to name a few. In addition, media sources have requested numerous other articles and more information, and HCCN has become their research. An understanding of chaplaincy and its value is beginning to take hold. Through the media, we will continue to educate and inform the healthcare field and the consumer alike. To move chaplaincy forward, becoming an evidence-based profession, we recently convened 2 international panels of experts to develop evidence-based quality indicators and evidence-based scope of practice. We announced these new tools in February and March of this year, respectively. The expert panelists represent the fields of chaplaincy, medicine, nursing, psychotherapy, palliative care, social work, research, and policy in the United States, as well as representing our overseas brothers and sisters. The reaction from the field has been noteworthy. Administrators gaining a deeper understanding of what chaplaincy could bring to the healthcare setting have reached out to us for more information and for guidance. Chaplains have applauded this important contribution to the field. This email message from Mario DeLise, a BCC Director of Mission and Community Development at Sonora Regional Medical Center in Sonora, California, is but one example. Mario said, "Thank you to HCCN for your work. Since coming into hospital chaplaincy 10 years ago, I have been excited to be a hospital chaplain, feeling that it was a ripe time and that chaplaincy was coming of age. I really appreciate all the work, research, money, and effort HCCN puts into moving us down the road toward professionalism, best practices, and integration." Mario is not someone we know. And like the other numerous messages that we have received, his was unsolicited and unexpected. All of the developments are significant in their respective contribution, but there is so much more to do. Some may ask why we are not doing this work through the existing chaplaincy organizations, also referred to as cognate professional associations, as HCCN has done in the past. To say that some of the thought leaders from these associations are not partnering with us in this work is simply untrue. Many have chosen to get involved. There is simply a clear and declared recognition that the organizations themselves have not taken the necessary steps to move this field forward. For myself, these last 3 years, this shows no sign of changing, though I hope that it will. For now, there has not been leadership in producing the evidence that chaplaincy training, chaplaincy certification, or healthcare chaplaincy itself contributes any value to the healthcare enterprise. Without this evidence and advocacy based upon it, professional chaplaincy is in a real danger of further marginalization rather than further integration. This is still where we find ourselves even after years of HCCN spearheading collaborative projects and providing generous financial support and human resources to Cognate Group products that we would hope would jumpstart this field. These efforts including securing the funding and providing production support for the first white paper on professional chaplaincy, providing major financial and logistical support for the development of the common standards, and developing the palliative care competencies for the first specialty certification in chaplaincy that we then gifted to the APC. This doesn't include all of the financial resources HCCN has provided annually to help support the operations of these associations. It is simply that we have come to the point, and it is our strong belief, that the welfare of this profession and the spiritual welfare of our patients demands that we can no longer wait to move forward. The time for repeating discourses and merely hoping for change and a better future is over. Together, we can incorporate what we already know needs to get done. We must act on the guidance of the thought leadership and our experience in the field, and together tackle the challenge of building our profession, focusing on clinical outcomes essential to our work, and fostering further integration within the healthcare team, and ensuring chaplaincy's survival for the next generation. Now is the time to unite and fundamentally establish spiritual care in healthcare and to move chaplaincy down the road toward professionalism, best practices, and greater integration. Making spiritual care a priority is why today, on behalf of HCCN's Board of Directors, HCCN's staff, and our supporters, that I am announcing to you the formation of the Spiritual Care Association. The Spiritual Care Association will be the first multidisciplinary international professional membership association of this expanse and magnitude for all types of spiritual care providers. It establishes for the first time evidence-based quality indicators, scope of practice, and knowledge base for spiritual care in healthcare. As healthcare providers emphasize the delivery of positive patient experience, the Spiritual Care Association has been established to lead the way to educate, certify, credential, and advocate. Our goal is for more people in need, regardless of religion, beliefs, or cultural identification, to receive effective spiritual care in all types of institutional and community settings in the United States and globally. The Spiritual Care Association is committed to serving its multidisciplinary membership and growing the chaplaincy profession. My team and I will depend on SCA membership for guidance, direction, knowledge, expertise, and collaboration. The Spiritual Care Association will be a not-for-profit membership organization and an affiliate of the not-for-profit Healthcare Chaplaincy Network. HCCN will continue to function and grow, following its original mission in providing clinical care, education, and research. The Spiritual Care Association goes well beyond what existing organizations are doing in the field, designing new educational programs and delivery methods that meet today's needs, by developing new processes for credentialing and certification to ensure that chaplains are better prepared with evidence-based knowledge and skills, by uniting all disciplines, all of those interested in spiritual care, to enhance education and advocacy, by responding to the needs in today's healthcare system, and by filling the gaps so that we can make certain that our profession is sustainable and growing, and that our patients gain the comfort and the meaning that they deserve. Membership in this multifaceted cognate group. The Spiritual Care Association is open to all individuals and organizations committed to the provision of optimal spiritual care as a vital component of whole person care and the overall patient experience. There are 3 types of membership. The first is healthcare professionals, included but not limited to chaplains, physicians, nurses, social workers, patient advocates, administrators, and volunteers. The second membership category is community clergy and religious leaders. And the third is organizations and institutes. For our healthcare professionals, the Spiritual Care Association will be a vital resource. While professional chaplains are the spiritual care specialists on the interdisciplinary team, there is a growing recognition that delivery of spiritual care requires the participation of the entire team. Present structures and associations that segregate chaplains or other healthcare professions are not in the best interest of promoting the integration of spiritual care and the specialty of chaplaincy. All stakeholders in spiritual care, chaplains and other disciplines, need to unite together. Chaplains should not be marginalized, and chaplains should and will now be given the same respect as other healthcare professionals. SCA will promote that all on the healthcare team understand the contribution of spiritual care, that they obtain a basic knowledge of it, and value the importance of working hand in hand with chaplains. Dr. Malcolm Marler, BCC, Director of Pastoral Care at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, has said, "In the medical field, we've got to teach people from all types of disciplines how to listen and to engage people comfortably and to care for them spiritually and emotionally." The Spiritual Care Association delivers for all healthcare professionals a unique and comprehensive combination of benefits: evidence-based education in our Learning Center, spiritual care ground round webinars, the online resource and the community of the Chaplain Connection, publications, updates, and so much more. For community clergy and religious leaders, the Spiritual Care Association will also become a vital resource. Community clergy and religious leaders are often unprepared and feel uncomfortable providing spiritual care to individuals with chronic disease or nearing the end of life. This training is largely missing from seminary education. There are more than 350,000 spiritual leaders and community clergy in the United States. The time is now to enlist their full participation in providing effective spiritual care and increasing their comfort level in doing so. We have already engaged major seminaries throughout the United States, and as a committee are reviewing the needs of clergy regarding their place in healthcare settings, so that SCA can develop the educational components determined to be best prepare current and future clergy and religious leaders to care for patients, families, and healthcare professionals. For organizations and institutions, the Spiritual Care Association also will be a vital resource. It complements or supports an organization's mission and its objective, It provides a venue to become part of a grassroots, national and global, multidisciplinary advocacy effort to advance the integration of spiritual care in healthcare. You see, we've already reached out to more than 140 non-chaplain organizations nationally to participate in a new advocacy agenda. This agenda will promote the value of spiritual care in healthcare, the important role of the chaplain, and the need to attain some level of reimbursement for hospital and healthcare institutions that provide spiritual care through professional chaplains. The response to our invitation has been robust. There is clearly an opportunity here to work across all professions, disease states, religious institutions, and community groups to achieve a new level of understanding and support for growing the spiritual care agenda. We urge organizations from all disciplines, those for chaplains, social work, nursing, medicine, clergy, seminaries, faith groups, and others, to join and be part of the Spiritual Care Association. We urge them to become part of this interdisciplinary and united voice for spiritual care. Because with the combined strength of individual and organizational members, the end result will be that more people will receive spiritual care they so much want, they so much need. There are numerous components to the Spiritual Care Association. One of them is the SCA Learning Center. This has been established for the initial and continuing education of chaplains and other spiritual care providers and other healthcare disciplines. The Learning Center's online courses are authored by subject matter experts. They cover critical topics that professionals encounter regularly, and we will be adding more courses over time. The center uses a state-of-the-art learning management system currently utilized by large online universities. With this system, you'll be able to take each course at your own pace and earn a certificate of completion and continuing education hours for each course completed. A few minutes ago, I spoke about the linkage of evidence-based quality indicators, scope of practice, and knowledge base. The courses available in the Learning Center are the foundation for this essential knowledge base. You know as well as I do that in the current model of clinical pastoral education, each CPE unit differs widely from unit to unit, supervisor to supervisor, and center to the center, to the extent that it's impossible to know what a student has learned from using and finishing the CPE unit. You know better than I that this simply does not compare favorably to other healthcare professions. Through the SCA, this has now been redressed. Another educational component of SCA is to provide clinical pastoral education through our new CPE.org. CPE.org consists of a virtual curriculum and didactics online and via video, combined with on-site clinical work at a hospital or other setting. The program is overseen by a CPE supervisor, and it follows the Association for Clinical Pastoral Education standards. It is being offered through SCA by HCCN, an ACPE accredited center. CPE.org is for people interested in CPE but whose work, personal or other responsibilities, or lack of a nearby on-site center have prevented them from taking conventional CPE units. There's a strong need for clinical pastoral education that combines online and in-person training, and CPE.org meets that need. So far, I've described three major components of the Spiritual Care Association: membership advocacy and education. The fourth component is chaplain credentialing and board certification. We all know how many people serve as chaplains without certification, and some without any pastoral education or any accountability. This has been a big drag on the profession of our field. But so many people working as chaplains with some clinical training who are doing good work, particularly in small organizations, rural areas, or other settings, especially in hospice, are simply not recognized. Due to their geographical location or some other factor, they're unable to meet the current requirements of other associations for board certification. Because of that, the profession has dismissed their experience and contribution to chaplaincy. That changes now. Anyone currently working as a chaplain who is not board certified, but who meets the requirements that the Spiritual Care Association has set, merits the title of credentialed chaplain. The value of credentialing is twofold. For chaplains, the title of credentialed chaplain will attest to their level of competence in the profession. For institutions, they can be assured that a credentialed chaplain has demonstrated the competencies to perform normal chaplaincy tasks. But make no mistake, this level of chaplaincy will be challenging to obtain and requires the candidate to pass an exam designed to objectively determine their grasp of evidence-based knowledge and clinical competency. In addition to credentialing chaplains who meet our requirements, the Spiritual Care Association offers two paths to board certification. In Path 1, anyone who holds a current board certification or its equivalent from a recognized U.S. or international professional chaplaincy organization can become board certified through the Spiritual Care Association by providing the required documentation. And because certification is currently too subjective and unnecessarily lengthy and laborious, SCA is introducing a new model to becoming board-certified chaplain. It is no secret that the way in which board certification is currently done is a subjective process that is not standardized. How candidates are interviewed and how their abilities are judged have not been consistent from one certifying committee to another. This stands to hurt us all. Chaplaincy must move to an objective process where people are deemed competent based on meeting evidence-based quality indicators, scope of practice, and competencies, and knowledge base. For chaplaincies to truly become a profession, we need to follow the lead of the other disciplines: registered nurses, licensed social workers, physicians. These do not have a subjective certification process that lacks consistency, but rather one objective and evidence-based national standards, education, testing, and a demonstration of knowledge and competency. The Spiritual Care Association creates exactly this much-needed degree of professionalism with the requirements to become board certified by the second path. It includes a standardized patient exam, much like that which is taken by medical professionals, but with a focus on our competencies. Also included is an exam designed specifically to objectively test a chaplain's grasp of evidence-based knowledge. I know this is a lot to digest. And with regret, I have to tell you the following months will unveil additional initiatives and opportunities as well. But to summarize, the Spiritual Care Association engages chaplains and all healthcare professionals from multiple disciplines, community clergy and religious leaders, and organizations and institutions in one common purpose. It looks at the real needs of providers, patients, and their families, and the important role of spiritual care and of chaplaincy. It standardizes a fragmented profession and makes education and preparedness a fundamental necessity. And it commits It commits to raising a loud voice for the spiritual care agenda by providing the opportunity in the United States and across the globe to speak up and to lead to change and transformation. Our conversations to date with global spiritual care thought leaders have been well received. There is a consensus that there's a possibility under the umbrella of SCA that a true level of collaboration could be obtained, resources culled and coordinated, and goals and objectives unanimously achieved. The cry for change and improvement, the hope that we can make the profession better and move it along resonates in our hearts. You know better than I that these value-added components of SCA have been talked about for years, but they must happen now for the good of the field, but most of all, for the benefit of every person in need. That is why, in the same way that I stand here to personally present and to explain the Spiritual Care Association to you, communications are going out as I speak to invite numerous chaplaincy associations and leaders to assist in whatever way they desire in this SCA initiative, to join together, to strengthen the profession and work towards its future. We acknowledge and we respect the services that the other associations have provided for their members for many years and for many years to come. We welcome their participation in SCA, particularly in the area of advocacy for professional chaplaincy. I will be requesting a call for each of these groups to personally discuss their involvement and their collaboration. I will be sure to keep you informed of our work together. Isn't it time to make spiritual care a priority? This forward-looking SCA model modernizes the profession and maximizes the potential of spiritual care in whole person care. Now, I know some will say this is impossible. Others may say, well, you know, we've never done it like this before, and will deride the prospect. Still others may express concern, and fearing that which is new, and preferring to remain in reinforced organizational or individual silos. But isn't it time? Isn't it time for spiritual care to be better accepted, respected, and valued? Isn't it time to ensure that the whole person, body, mind, and spirit, is cared for? Isn't it time to do everything we can to reduce the pain and the suffering of those we serve? Isn't it time for more to be done, for more support, and for better guidance to be provided? The Spiritual Care Association gives all of us a significant opportunity to get involved, an opportunity to become empowered, an opportunity to make a difference, because if not us, who? And if not now, when? And if not for the good of every patient, caregiver, family member, and healthcare professional who truly needs someone to be present to them, to hold their hands, and remind them of and reflect for them that which is truly sacred. Why? This is not a passionate vision. The vision of the future begins today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.